I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual. I'm an intellectual. Just breathe. Take a breath, take a second, relax your mind, just breathe.
Yo, what's going on, people? It's your boy Kem, and welcome back to the Flying Intellectual Podcast. Music in the background is from one of my friends, Jamal Moore's new record called Bob's Cookout. The name of the song is called Being Still. And with everything that's going on in the world, it seems like every time we turn on the TV, turn on the, what do we listen to now? Podcasts, right? Radio or newspaper or social media. Seems like there's something crazy going on at all times, which is a lot for us to all take in, I would say. Being that it's a lot harder to kind of turn off what the average news cycle looks like because, the average one of us does have to be on our phone, especially for people who work for themselves and things like that. For me and my business, my phone is one of the main ways I stay connected to clients and stay up to date on the world and things like that. So finding ways to be still, as that song said, is like crucial. And I'm learning that my damn self, to be honest, because I've never been really good at finding ways to stay still. I've never really been good at shutting things down and just essentially isolating myself away from the world, because I always feel like, I have so much more to get done in real time. So this pod, after a long hiatus, is really to kind of be a voice amongst the chaos, and find, reconnect with our core audience and kind of check in really and find ways to reconnect and check in and make sure that everybody is good as we come in towards the end of the year. Holiday season that comes with its own trauma and a lot of things that people have to deal with. Death around certain times and not really being with the people that they love at times and feeling very alone, even though this time of year is really catered in a lot of ways to being around the ones you love. So, this episode is really to check in, to kind of update, to be transparent and make sure that we're all doing the necessary to check in on our mental health. As flying intellectuals, we know that, it's about, elevating ourselves, to get to this bag and to elevate ourselves, to position ourselves to make sure that we're giving back to the next generation and our kids to come and all of that kind of stuff. But we cannot do that at all as a people, without making sure that our mental health is good, without making sure that our actual physical health is good. Making sure that our spiritual life, our emotional, physical, mental, it's all in unison, making sure that we're doing the necessary to be the best version of ourselves, because that's what flying into intellectual is all about. Being the best version of yourself and taking the time out to identify when you're not being the best version of yourself and making sure that you tap in and surround yourself with people who can uplift you and hold you accountable. And along with people holding you accountable, then, you also will be able to hold yourself accountable in the midst of that as well. So, during this year, it's been a good year. It's been a active year. It's been, with everything, for anybody who follows me on socials, or especially Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, the world of Elon Musk. I always tweet something kind of like every couple of days, which is grateful for it all, the good and the bad. And you have to be grateful. Gratefulness is a major part to mental health, positive mental health. Um, why? Because as we all get older, as the days go on and we get to live more of this life, we realize that everything ain't gonna be good and everything ain't gonna be bad. However, in the true nature and fashion of what consists of life, positive and negative is what everything consists of. If we're talking about just like on an electrical, you want to go to electrical engineering side of things, it takes a positive and a negative charge to create electricity. Um, the yin and the yang to life, right? If you want to get more into like just life balance, yin and yang, good and bad. You can't have one without the other. So for us to realize, it's integral to realize that at the end of the day, you have to be grateful through it all, because everything won't always be good and everything won't always be bad. However, if you can keep gratefulness through both of those phases, and I call them phases because, you know, everything in life is a phase. I don't care if it's a 20-year phase, 30-year phase, 2-day phase, 80-year phase. Our life itself is a phase, right? We all are going to average just about 70 something years on this earth, average. I don't know if I haven't done my recent research on seeing what life expectancy looks like these days, but let's just go off of general knowledge. The average person lives to be about 70 years old. So there's 70 years of different iterations of who we are, of learning, of accumulating things, and then it's all gone in a second. And we have to realize that during these phases and this phase of life, positive and negative things will happen, good and bad will happen. And if we can be grateful through it all, that helps keep our mental, emotional, and physical, well-being at somewhat of a median, right? And that doesn't mean not to feel. That doesn't mean not to. That doesn't mean not to allow your emotions to run its course to an extent. However, if you remember that, hey man, I'm grateful whether there's good going on right now for me, whatever that looks like, or whether there's bad going on for me, or whatever that looks like, then you are able to kind of stay centered enough to be able to work through it. You don't get too high or too low. And also, that, throughout the phase, it will come to an end, and the next phase will begin. And yeah, I mean, during this time, for me, it's been a lot of reflecting, and really just kind of truly looking mortality in its face. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a lot of death. This year has been, I don't know how many times I said rest in peace this year. And that's tough. I mean, I think we all deal with that in some form, but it seems like death is at an all-time high. Whether, at the time of when you're listening to this podcast, we have Israel versus Palestine right now. That's like a whole genocide, which is essentially a synonym for death, or a straight up definition for death at a high level. Whether it's, friends and co-workers and things like that, passing way before their time. As of most recently, rest in peace to one of my heroes and somebody that I was blessed to be able to get to know personally, Aaron Spears, world legend, drummer, but more importantly, like a really genuinely cool guy. I mean, I remember the first time I met Aaron through my homie Jamal Moore, and, just my first conversation with him, you would swear that we knew each other, or he knew me for like 10 years. Like, that was just his energy. That was just his demeanor. Like he never allowed people to like feel like, oh my God, it's Aaron Spears. Like I don't belong in the same room as him, or I don't even belong having a conversation with him. Like he was very always accepting, very always like very warm. He'll give you the biggest daps, you know what I'm saying? Like if he knew you, even if it was like the first time meeting you, like, hey, how you doing, man? What's good, man? What's your name? You know what I'm saying? Like the general things that make somebody feel apart and wanted and included. Even if this guy was like a world renowned drummer playing for like the likes of, the biggest pop stars in the world. Um, it didn't matter. Like he was always the same dude. So the musician world and the world itself took like a huge loss, and we're all trying to navigate this and kind of understand it, and really just like find a way to accept it and still be grateful. Just like I said before, like still be grateful for it all. And for even if it was just 47 years on this earth, that 47 years felt like it was an eternity, and it felt complete to an extent, because of who he was and how he allowed God to use him as like an angel on this earth to be a tangible point of inspiration. I think he was literally the personified, our mantra here at Flying Young Intellectual is inform, inspire, interact. That's like our three pillars that anything that we do falls underneath. And he was like the personification of that. You get in contact with him and you talking to him, he's always ready to like inform you. A lot of people would always ask him about things with the industry, and he was not a gatekeeper at all. Inspire, he was just, he just literally was a walking inspiration. And when you got in contact with him and talked to him, or even from afar, everybody that you see around the world, if you look at the posts and stuff and the tributes to him, were just like, yo, I was so inspired with him. And then interact, as I said, like once you did get in contact with him, like I don't care if it was a DM where you're cold calling and he has no idea who you are. If he did see it, he would respond to you. And if you were blessed to meet him in real life, it was like the same thing. As I said, warm, inviting, didn't make you feel like who are you to talk to me? Like you never felt any vibes like that. And that's like one of the real reasons I really enjoyed being around him, and like just even kind of spending like a lot of my formidable youth between the ages of 19 and 26 in Maryland, the DC area, and really growing up in the music industry there as a professional musician and learning the game from the likes of him and Jamal Moore and all these other guys who took me under their wing in some way, whether personally or just, as an extension of someone else. It was a blessing, and it was really like I don't take those days for granted at all. Those days truly affected me in a positive way as a young man, and helping me grow and adapt really core values to not only being a professional, but just to being a good human being, a genuine human being, not trying to be more or less what people want that to look like when you attain certain things, but just being tangible, being a source of inspiration through being accessible, and yeah, I'll never forget the cool conversations and the moments that we had with Aaron, and rest in peace, rest in power to the big homie, and prayerfully I'll see you again, on the other side. So yeah, that's, as I said, mortality. For me, informing, inspiring, and interacting is like what I know my purpose is on this earth. And looking at mortality, we all have to go, as we said. And for me, I've realized even more lately that the days that we have, we truly don't know when that could be gone. And we literally have to live life to the fullest and not selfishly. We do have a responsibility to be quote unquote selfish, as in there's no one else who's responsible for you but you. However, it is our duty as well to make sure that we are loving our fellow man and showing love. And I think that's why, and that's why the world will be a better place. And I think that's why the world is in such a crazy place of chaos right now, because we're literally forgetting that love is the answer, love is the key. I myself like had this weird, crazy uh medical experience, weird thing that happened to me within the last month or so. And just from the gist of it, I mean, it kind of stimulated from or stemmed from like some things that I was dealing with that was getting taken care of, but like I woke up in the middle of the night and like just really had like a weird sensation and feeling, where like my blood pressure was up and there was like some tingling. And yeah, just the end of, I just needed, I knew like something didn't feel right. My left arm was tingling. It was going numb. And I just was like, I need to go to the hospital. And I just knew that it really, I hadn't felt anything like that ever before. And I have a really high pain tolerance. So outside of just the pain I was feeling, I just knew that something wasn't right. And yeah, I'm just glad. Well, Cleo was here to help me get to the damn hospital. And yeah, a lot of tests were ran, especially on my heart, because I was born with a heart murmur that I had kind of grown out of, but that was like really a point of emphasis for them. And through some, different tests and all these types of scans, I realized some things that I had to kind of work on, and thankfully we didn't take too long to be able to get it dealt with. And but during that whole time, it was really, you know, kind of realizing that, things could change real quick. Like you could feel great today and bad tomorrow. Something can happen. That's just life. And because of all of that, we want to make sure that we are maximizing ourselves. We are not like wasting time thinking about what we can't do. And we really just concentrate on what we can do, and surround ourselves with the people that really care for us. Don't waste your time trying to convince people about caring about you or caring for you, or we don't have time. We really don't have time to waste on that type of stuff. And that doesn't matter if you're 10 years old, 20 years old, 50 years old. Like, it's a mindset at the end of the day that we all have to just figure out what's important to us, what's worth carrying, what the baggage that's worth carrying. And if we realize it, a lot of things that we carry are baggage that's someone else's in a lot of ways. We all marry somebody or marry other people's issues, or like bring it along, based on like friendships, or, sometimes relationships, or, just feeling like we're responsible for other people. And, as you go through life, there are some people that that you are going to be okay with bringing along. But at the same time, we have to vet every situation, every person that we allow in our life, every stress that we allow to kind of consume us, because we all have our own shit that we're dealing with. And taking on somebody else's can intensify yours. It can leave you with room not to deal with yours in a healthy way. And these are all things that I had to learn over time. Just being like that type of person who, once I say I'm your friend, I'm an empath too. Like, it's just like I feel, and I feel so much to the point of where sometimes Like I literally on board someone's emotions, and kind of weighing yourself down with stuff like that, or internalizing every single thing, is not healthy at all. And it's just something that I had to learn how to separate myself from things like yeah, I might make myself available. Yeah, I'll be a listening ear, but I cannot take it on to a point of where it's physically, emotionally, and spiritually harming me, even mentally, right? So we all have to learn that. We all have to learn how to set boundaries. We all have to learn how to protect ourselves. And that's where the selfishness comes in. That's where it's necessary to be selfish, to make sure that we are protecting ourselves, to be there for ourselves. And then if we're there for ourselves at a high level, then we can be there for others. But we have to make sure that we ourselves are taking care of ourselves. And these are just like lessons I've learned over time, but definitely this year. This year has been very, very, like, very just personal on that level when it comes to realizing how to show up for myself and not internalizing every single thing that comes across my desk or comes across my ears, or comes across my phone screen, right? With social media and news and stuff like that. Like, being present and being aware is always a good thing, and we all should be that. But we should find ways to make sure that we are kind of separating ourselves enough from those things that can kind of consume us and leave us all in a place of being in a worse state than before, when we kind of read or took those stuff. So yeah, these are just like the lessons. And this episode, I don't even want to like let it be too long, because I really just want it to be like a real authentic like check-in. The podcast is back full time. We're definitely gonna get some flying intellectuals on here, get the stories going again, make sure that we're elevating and amplifying the things and the people out here who are positively using their mindset and their influence to inspire, to inform, and to interact. But I really wanted this episode to just be like, hey guys, y'all good? Is everybody good? Like, what I'm saying? Once you hear this, feel free to drop a comment, and feel free to interact and just say, hey man, I'm good, or hey man, I'm not good, or hey man, I needed to hear this episode, or maybe, pass it on to somebody else who could use it. But this is just some genuine check-in vibes. Looking forward to getting back full time, and there's going to be, we're going to do it half audio, and then back to like the visual aspect that we introduced earlier this year with our last episode that was aired, with my homies that won the 2 Grammys that night. That episode, y'all showed your support and you really loved that format. So we're definitely going to integrate that visual aspect. And we've been working on just making sure that the production is right up to par. And yeah, I'm excited. Let's all just stay connected. Let's make sure that we're checking in on each other. And let's make sure that we are being better for ourselves, so that we can face it all, and continue elevating as we go through this life. It's your boy Kem. Thanks again for tuning into the Flying Intellectual Podcast. Until next time, peace. Hey intellectuals, thanks for listening to this episode of the Flying Intellectual Podcast. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Also, join our email list at www.flyyoungintellectual.com, where you can also hire our brand development and management services and book a consultation. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Fly Young Intellectual, where we inform, inspire, and interact. We'll see you soon. Thanks.